Thanks for having us. My name is Gavin Beck, and I'm the Regional Boating Education Community Liaison Officer. So that's for Port Stephens, Mile Lakes, and also I share the Central West region of New South Wales. So quite a big area, keeps us challenged. And Michael, who's subbing for Tony Woodfield, the Mile Lakes Boating Safety Officer, Michael's area of responsibility is Newcastle and the Hunter region in general. So thanks for coming along today. We're going to cover quite a few topics today, then we'll have a bit of fun. Please, I encourage you, if you do have any questions, fire away, and we'll do our best to answer those for you. And just we're going to talk about New South Wales Maritime a little and what we do. Like we have evolved over the years. Everyone here in the room can probably remember we had the old RTA, and we had Maritime, we had Waterways, we had MSB. Okay, so we've had lots of different name changes. So part of our job role, we're part of New South Wales Maritime Division of Roads and Maritime Services. So we're actually quite a lean beast these days. And I'll go through. We've only got actually 180 people statewide. So definitely there's challenges with that, but it's a good crew, and we certainly do our best to execute our various roles. We've got over 2,000 kilometres of coastline, and coastline just isn't off the beach line. State waters in New South Wales actually go to 3 nautical miles, so quite a big body of water. Of that, 32,000 kilometres is considered navigable waters. So, layman's terms, where you could put a boat. Okay, we look after 20,000 moorings statewide, so lots. Example of Port Stephens here, there's 1,200 moorings. You wouldn't believe it, but there is. So it keeps the local officer pretty busy just with that alone. Aids to navigation, so your red and green lateral marks, your cardinal marks, all of those marks, that's our responsibility as well. There's over 2 million people in New South Wales go onto the water every year. That's a pretty weighty statistic, and that is growing exponentially each year. More and more and more people are going onto the water, and I'll go through some brief statistics shortly, but the actual fatality and incident rate is trending down, which makes us very happy. Don't get me wrong, even one fatality is too many, but we'll discuss how we go about trying to keep that statistic trending down, which is what we're all about. There's about 230,000 registered boats in New South Wales. So again, quite a sizable number. 500,000 nearly people who hold a boat licence when you consider jet ski licences or licensees are required to hold a boating licence. And it's also about 10,000 commercial vessels in the state. Okay, our executive director is Angus Mitchell. He was a senior naval officer. He's now our boss. He's a good guy. As I said, Maritime is about 180 people statewide in 5 different branches, and I won't go too much into it. Michael and I are part of operations branch, so boating operations, and we have 3 divisions of that: North, Sydney and South. We're part of North, pretty obviously. Infrastructure and technical capability branch, they do a lot of stuff. Think wharves, think maritime infrastructure, those guys look after that. Spatial information, it looks like a really fancy term, but in this day and age we do use a lot of other technology to assist us in doing these roles. Industry and environment, big thing there is marine pollution. We do have a responsibility, we're as a combat agency in New South Wales, to look after oil spills. Okay, we have actually a big trailer in Port Stephens, and that is chock-a-block all the time, full of everything we need to do to combat an oil spill. We actually share that, believe it or not, with Fire and Rescue New South Wales, depending on on where that is. Think about Sydney Harbour. It's very tourist oriented. There's a dedicated clean-up crew. You can imagine with the amount of traffic both on the water and around the foreshores, how much rubbish is generated in Sydney Harbour. I think in the region of 360 tonnes a year, metric tonnes, so it's a huge amount. Okay, we also have a compliance side of the business, and we have a statewide compliance team called MSEC, Mobile Statewide Education Compliance Team. They go all around New South Wales throughout the year, and we also, things happen on the water, so there's an investigations and prosecutions branch. Service delivery, this is product services, aquatic events. Think about the Sydney to Hobart yacht race. That's an aquatic event. It's a huge event. It takes a lot of planning, like everyone's probably seen on TV. It's chaos. So that there's actually a couple of people who liaise with the various organising bodies to make those things happen, because they generate a lot of money for the state. So we're tied into that. I'm being now rolled into this education branch. Education is now recognised, and I believe rightly so. You can go out and wield the stick and give people a fine for not doing the right thing out in the water, not wearing a life jacket, incorrect safety gear, etc. However, we've proven over the last few years that the stepped approach with education compliance, that definitely it does make a difference, and proof is in the pudding as well with the downward trend of fatalities and incidents. Okay, we have policy people like every government organisation. We've got our bureaucratic side. These people come up with our maritime policies. So that's the other branch. Interesting thing is maritime now, we don't have any dedicated customer service. That's now been rolled into Service New South Wales. Okay, so locally, you've got Raymond Terrace, you've got Nelson Bay, you've got Foster, you've got Maitland, and you've got in at Newcastle there. Service New South Wales, I often go and attend with them. I work with them quite closely, and I think it's a pretty good model. So definitely for your transactional side of things, that's where you need to go. Okay. What does Michael do? Okay, we often get confused with fisheries officers. We're not. It comes down to what legislation we actually look after, and fisheries legislation is different, quite distinctly different to marine legislation. So Michael quite obviously specialises in that legislation. One thing we like to say, we don't make the law, that we leave that to the bureaucratic side of things, but certainly we do provide comment on that. Okay, all boating safety officers have commercial backgrounds, and that's Cox's certificates, Master 5, Master 4s. They come from Water Police, they come from Navy. They're all professional mariners. Okay, there's about 60 of these guys and girls statewide. So actually surprisingly not a lot on the ground or in the water. Marine safety, that's one of the biggest focus, these guys, maintaining a standard of behaviour. Same as road rules, think that. We have our rules and regulations on the water. They do a lot of on-water patrols, compliance checks, education as well is a big part of it. And a part of their job is detecting non-compliance with marine legislation. Managing waterways, so your local officer will manage those navigation aids, moorings, public jetties, often in consultation with councils, commercial and private mooring licences, and those aquatic licences I spoke about. Marine pollution response is another big responsibility of our friendly BSOs and commercial vessels. That's now nationally regulated by the Australian Maritime Safety Authority, but Roads and Maritime do have statewide delegation. What do? I'm a non-compliance officer, so I don't hand out tickets. I also specialise in legislation, but difference is, I guess, is I go out and I engage with the punters and the people through a number of mechanisms. Like today, we'll go to forums like this. I also have a schools program. The schools program, we believe, is quite valuable. We're trying to embed that culture of wearing a life jacket for the young kids, for the next generation. I can liken it to when I was a kid in the 70s. There weren't any seatbelts in cars. It was okay for the time, but if you go back and have a look at actual statistics with accidents and fatalities, they're pretty horrendous figures there. So that's what we're trying to embed in these young kiddies, is that culture of wearing life jackets. So it's as natural as putting on a seatbelt in a car, hopping in a boat and putting on a life jacket. Varied experience. We were recruited because mainly, one reason, believe it or not, we weren't from purely professional marine backgrounds, a number of backgrounds: Defence Force, police, other government agencies, teachers, and there was no sort of consistency with that recruiting. And there's 12 of us in the state. Okay, I won't bore everyone to death with these statistics. Alrighty. 85% of boaters who died in the last year weren't wearing a life jacket. Okay, as Kieran and Lenny have spoken about, that's one statistic that we're not seeing go down significantly. It's still the primary cause of fatalities in the marine world in New South Wales. Okay, hence why that's our big focus continually. Our revised life jacket laws came about in 2010. We're into year 7 now. It's getting better, but that statistic is still hanging around at a worrying level. Okay. One thing we have seen though, and they do snapshots around New South Wales, is they'll have people with an iPad or a little board, and they'll actually go and observe how many people are wearing life jackets. So example is here in Karuah, they'll go and sit down and they'll look at actually, are they required to wear one in that type of boat? And we call it voluntary wear. And in the last 5 years, that figure has gone from 9% to 45% of the boating public wearing life jackets, where they're required to or voluntarily, which I think is really, really heartening. And we'll go through later on some inflatable life jackets and talk about the benefits of those new generation life jackets, as they're called. Okay, current year we've had 11 fatalities. Bad, but better. Okay, 3 years ago we had 28 in the state. That's just recreational boating, people going out for a fish and not coming back. And that's what we're about. That's why we want to educate very passionately about the need for life jackets. And as I was saying, that average is about 17 per year. Okay. Within the last year, only 2 people who drowned out of the 7 were wearing life jackets. Okay, it still stays around. I'm harping on this a bit just to reinforce. 257 incidents in New South Wales, which is better than from the 350 plus we've had in the past. Okay, causes of accidents. Over the last 10 years, some big figures there, 33% of accidents involve capsizing vessels. What happens when a vessel capsizes? You fall out, you end up in the drink, okay? And that's where, what we call it Swiss cheese theory, okay? That's where incidents and fatalities occur. There's multiple factors, and then you might have, it's generally 4 to 5 factors. It's quite interesting to study, and then you have a fatality, okay? All of those holes have got to line up, and the first one is the capsize. Okay. All right. 50% of accidents with your small open runabouts. Hence, that's why they have the most stringent life jacket requirements. Here's a big one for the gentlemen. 87% fatalities were, guess what? Male. Okay? So, again, we've got key demographics, and does anyone... I've got some giveaways too. I do encourage audience participation. Does anyone want to hazard a guess at what our key demographic is in the boating community? What age group and what sex they are? Male? Yeah, both great answers in the ballpark. Male, and demographic is 30 to 69. That is, I'll show you a figure, and then 70 plus, and that accounts for actually most of fatalities. Do you go out boating, sir? It's for your mobile phone. It's a waterproof pouch. There you go. Thank you. Okay. %60 of fatalities, 30 to 69 age group, okay, and another 19% on top of that, okay. So, be as it may, that's worrying for me, and hence that's where I focus a lot of my attention on fishing clubs and the like to try and reinforce that. 82%, again, that figure, that 8 or 9 out of 10 weren't wearing a jacket whilst boating. Okay. Some important stuff whilst boating. Keep a proper lookout, okay? It is one of the biggest causes of accidents, not keeping a proper lookout, okay? So it sounds like a fancy term, but it's really common sense. Keep an eye on what you're doing and your environment. Preparedness. Marine Rescue will attest to this at the start of the boating season. Breakdowns. Why do you reckon we have a lot of breakdowns? No one maintains their engine. And what happens over winter with that? Anyone has a guess? Yep. Sitting there, what happens to the fuel? Water and fuel, yep. And actually, people can get in a lot of strife with that, not using any fuel preservation agents, not even draining the fuel out, okay? Prepare, check the weather, okay? These are all these little factors, these 4 or 5 factors, and you can see them there, okay? They add up, and bingo, that's when you have an incident and sometimes a fatality. Yes, mate? So they're not supposed to go out? Depends on the survey class of the vessel. Mick might be able to answer that one more adequately than me.
Yeah, pretty well. With that one, is exactly what Gavin said. So they'll have applying conditions attached to their survey, and they'll tell them what weather conditions they can and can't go. So for us to sort of look at that, we need to pull alongside the boat, grab their survey book, have a look through that, and that'll give us the answer. But if it's rough, then you'd probably think they probably would call it off.
Well, I was just thinking, like, a lot of these things are flipping on the bar and bar crossings. So could you, in the future, make a law, if it's blowing over 30, no one goes out?
Unfortunately, with commercial vessels now, as Gavin said earlier, it's all done by the national regulator, which is AMSA. So we're the state governing authority with that, but the big picture is AMSA. So they write the rules now, and the more evolving of these commercial vessels, the national domestic system, they'll call on that, and so we're sort of bound by what they make. Yeah,
we have to go with what the national regulator wants, which is good and bad. Could be. With bar crossings, and that's a great point. Does anyone know the actual rules for life jacket wear on a bar crossing? Must be worn regardless of the size of the vessel, even on a commercial vessel. Bar crossings are a worrying statistic. We don't have any in our region except for Foster, if you do go boating out of there. Foster bar can be notorious, but yeah, they're another thing in themselves. Talk about for half an hour about bar crossings, but yeah, definitely take care and have a look. Heading out for a fish is not worth your life. It really isn't. Okay, 3 C's: care, courtesy and common sense. We again in summer see a spike on this with a lack of that, but we just ask everyone does that. Okay, we did had some minor legislative change last year, and amongst that, one of the key reforms was kayaking and canoeing. It is now compulsory to wear a life jacket. We're still educating that, okay, but it's evolved from a 100 metres from shore rule. It's as popular as mud, but that's what we have to work with. A few other changes there. That it is on our website if anyone's interested in having a look, or we do have some boat handbooks if anyone would like to do a bit of a refresher.
Just in regards to the wearing of life jackets like we've been speaking about, any of you guys commercial operators? So, as you probably know, the wearing of life jackets is compulsory boating alone under 4.8 metres at night or at night time or offshore. However, those operating under the national system doesn't apply to them. So there's some consistency for you.
Okay, basic safety gear stuff. Go around the room. What do we need in a boat for boating in the river here? Just the bare minimum. Yes, mate? Yep. Yep. Paddle, oars, yep. Whistle or sound signal? Yep, absolutely. What else, Kieran? What do we need?
No, I was just, for those who want to put their hand up and ask you a couple of questions. Yeah. Any more questions for you guys? How much further you got to go?
A little bit.
A little bit, okay, because we will be looking for some people to come up and do the life jacket test. Mm-hmm. And there's some good prizes for that. But a couple of interesting questions now. And what I might do, if I find I'll give a bum bag life jacket away for a good question, and also a rod and reel. So think of something that you'd like to ask him. That's up the back.
With boat licensing, is it the boat horsepower or driving the vessel below a certain speed that is the difference?
That old chestnut, that's very good question, and it's confusing. It's speed of the vessel, okay? When you're operating, you can operate, believe it or not, a 500 horsepower vessel, less than 10 knots, you're not required to be licensed, okay? So it's speed of operation. That's anywhere in New South Wales waters, okay? How much horsepower? That's where the horsepower comes in. Yeah, it must be registered. It's over the figure we said is 5 horsepower. Above 5 horsepower must be registered. Okay? That's exactly right. Under 10 knots. So we set 10 knots. Planings. Everyone familiar with that term? Okay, on the plane. Okay, that's roughly. It can be 8 to 14 knots, but 10 knots is the figure we set. So. Licensing, above 10 knots, need a licence. Rego for your boat, above 5 horsepower, must be registered.
Gav, how do you rate that question out of 10?
That's a good question, probably a 7.5. Kieran?
We'll see he wants to troll around everything and that. We'll give him a rod and a reel.
Yeah, beautiful, nice prize.
Any more questions? Yes?
Yes, absolutely. 2 litres per person, and please, I see this quite a bit. That 2 litres doesn't constitute Coca-Cola. I get that a bit. Okay, or alcohol additives. It's 2 litres of water, okay? And some guys, I urge you to have it as standalone water, okay? So buy a bladder of water from your local supermarket, etc. Keep it in the boat, because we see this quite a bit. Where's your water? And then they've drunk it throughout the day and they don't have that emergency that we ask you to, or need you to have by the safety gear regulation, okay? Great question.
Buy a 24-pack, freeze half of it, and I take that as an ice on me in the esky, and that's frozen, so
Yeah.
that's me rational.
Yeah,
Well,
that-
Laurie McAnally will tell you with the ice, Loz, it's essential to have real good ice for your catch. You know, so
Yep.
it works in a couple of ways. That question up the back, where you rate that?
fair to medium.
Fair to medium.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll take. I was going to give him a life jacket.
Give
but
him a
that-
life jacket. It was a good one. Yeah.
Any more questions? The prizes are good. I'd think of something if I was you.
Only sort of starting out, I went to like BCF, right, because you hear about life jackets and everything. I bought one of these fancy looking things that you have to have this bloody carbon dioxide to blow things up. But they don't tell you that you've got to go get clay and all this sort of stuff later on. I don't think there's been enough put out there what the go is with life jackets.
That's one of our big educational initiatives now. We've got people wearing inflatable life jackets, servicing, but you can self-service with most brands, okay? Come and see us afterwards and I'll show you how to do it. If anyone else wants to come see how to self-service your inflatable life jacket, can definitely do that, okay?
But also, generally, they'll when you get the packet with the life jacket inside it, generally they'll have information on there. If you open it up, it tells you there that it must be serviced. So it's as per the manufacturer's specifications. And we'll show you some, at least one good cracker one, as we're talking about these inflatable life jackets. They're great, but they're only as good as their upkeep.
Yes, mate. Yeah. Absolutely. And I might actually, we'll do our little demo, then if I've got time, I'll actually do a very quick demo for everyone in the room about servicing. And that's actually part of the servicing, is blowing up the jacket manually and leaving it overnight, okay? So to check quite obviously that it works. Yeah. Fairly relevant question. Kids' life jackets, what do you choose? Definitely for younger children, I would not recommend an inflatable style life jacket because kids play, don't they? And they have a ripcord. It's going to cost you $30 every time you go boating to replace the cylinder or near on. I also worry about children having that cognitive ability if they're separated with a manual inflatable life jacket to actually deploy that by themselves. So in that case, a foam style of life jacket, they come in 3 different levels. I'll start from the bottom, 50S, which is just your normal sort of jacket that you'd use for, the kids on the biscuit behind the boat or water skiing. They come in a non-safety colour, okay? And they've got 50 newtons of buoyancy. That's what that figure means, okay? So non-safety colour, that's the key thing. My preference is for the young ones is a level 50, okay? Same level of buoyancy, but it comes in either red or yellow or variations of that. So where do we see red and yellow in the marine environment? Can anyone think of that? Surf lifesaving, Westpac helicopter. They are, red and yellow, the most visible colours on, in or around the water. So definite preference there. For open waters boating.
If you're heading onto the water this summer, wear a life jacket. The stylish range of new generation life jackets might just surprise you. Let's check out the summer fashion and talk about the importance of life jacket safety.
Working together over the years, we've achieved 99% of people on boats carrying a life jacket on board, but sometimes less than 1 in 3 wearing them. And what we're trying to show now is the range of styles that are available. Some people still think it's the old block of cheese that they've got under the deck. And it's so far from the truth now, with bright colours, sizes and shapes that don't get in the way, but are there when something goes wrong. A life jacket won't save your life if you're not wearing it. And so we want people to be wearing them throughout. And now there's really no excuses, because there's something that's comfortable for everyone.
The Marine Area Command, along with other emergency services, attend to over 2,500 incidents a year. Over many years in this job, I've seen hundreds of incidents where boats have capsized and people have survived purely because they are wearing a life jacket. The message is that 9 out of 10 times, if you go into the water and you're wearing a life jacket, you will survive, and you'll give us time to get out there and rescue you.
New generation life jackets are proving to be extremely popular, as demonstrated by the huge amounts of old life jackets being exchanged in the Transport for New South Wales Old for New initiative. The mobile life jacket van has visited over 150 locations across New South Wales. Through the Old for New initiative, over 4,500 life jackets have been swapped over and replaced for the new life jackets. How are you feeling in this one?
Yeah, it's extremely comfortable.
This is one of our active ones as well. So this is Rob. Rob's wearing our fishing life jacket, new generation life jacket. Tell me the best thing about this life jacket.
This life jacket is very light, and it has loads of pockets for my sinkers, my lures, and everything that I possibly need.
For things like stand-up paddling, these belt-style life jackets, well, they're easy to use, aren't they? And they look pretty good. So if you're out on the boat this summer, make sure you wear a life jacket. It never ruined a day on the water.
I see this, you know, I carry around a first aid kit, quite a good one now, because things happen, they really do, okay, out in the water. Yeah.
I think the kids like to have their footy colours and things like that. That's true.
Choice, okay, same buoyancy. You've got different Australian standard, they are all still Australian standard, comes down to choice and the demographic of what people do. Okay, definitely someone bobbing up and down in the water, very hard to see. Yep, and that is better than fluoro. Yep, yep. That red and yellow is spot on. I can tell people later on how visible it is, okay, in a search and rescue situation.
I think the colours, well, I know for a fact that the colour system came in the multicolours and whatever. And when I mentioned about the footy colours and that, talking to the manufacturers of the life jackets, they're looking for other avenues that they can sell them and may entice people to buy them and wear them, especially kids. But yeah, well, it's a very difficult thing to try and get safety in a lot of people's head. Otherwise, we wouldn't lose so many people as we do. But we're trying to get kids to wear life jackets, and if we've got to go to something that suits them, well, then so be it, so long as they'll wear it. That's the first part. Now, we're looking for 4 adults, and you can pick them, Gav, because I don't want to get into trouble.
Okay.
Now, you got on a boat and won't fit you properly. Right, first. Okay. And that took just over 3 minutes. Right. What do you think? See how difficult this world could be if you see how it is now. Imagine in the water. Hello. Put your hands together for them all. Thank you very much. Well, what do you think?
We're done.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Okay. What else do we need to do this life jacket? Tighten it up. What happens if you don't tighten it up? Floats off your head. Okay. But what I want to demonstrate here is actually the auto component of these inflatable life jackets. Anyone seen one of these go off before, or has anyone let their own off before? And I see it at boat ramps quite a bit where people jump off and it might be a little bit deeper than what they expected, and they've got an auto jacket. It's not funny, but it kind of is. Okay, they get a bit of a shock. Now, I'm going to throw this water over you. Okay, there's some common misconceptions with the auto component. These jackets that are a drop of water and they'll deploy. I can assure you, they take quite a lot, and the actual immersion is through the bottom. 2 seconds full immersion. We'll have a go. You're good to go?
Oh, that's okay. I thought it was going to be a wet. Oh, there you go. Have a look at that.
So as you can see there, these things, they deploy drum tight. That tiny little gas cylinder, they compress 33 grams of carbon dioxide in there. And do you actually need to let a bit out? Yeah, lots and lots of buoyancy. This is a level 150. So for your average size Australian person, really, really good. And as you can see there, where I love these auto jackets is if you knock yourself out or you're otherwise incapacitated, very, very handy. If you go out in your boat by yourself, that's where they're such a good safety item. They've also they've actually through the oral inflation tube. That's actually a deflate. It's got a check valve in there as well. And that's how you get the gas out of them. Okay, so whilst the jacket's up here, I'll very briefly run through the servicing. I'm aware of time, Kieran, if we've got 30 seconds.
No, we've got time. Yeah, it's only Laurie McAnally we're leaving behind. And he's an ex-BSO anyhow.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Auto jackets. Thanks, Laurie. Also have manual pull lanyards. So if you're able to deploy the jacket, you can do that as well. This is the hydrostatic valve on this jacket, on these style of jackets. If you have an auto jacket, these have generally a 4-year life in them, so you'll need to buy a service kit and replace it. Just need to keep an eye on that. They're date stamped with the month and year. Okay? Pretty obviously this has been deployed. I'll need to whack a new kit on it. All right, that's the hydrostatic valve. How they work is they have a little dissolvable pill in there that is spring-loaded. Okay, that pill dissolves in the water. We all saw that. Spring expands, hits a firing pin within the actual actuating mechanism, pierces the membrane on the gas cylinder. As you saw, once that thing started deploying, less than 5 seconds, fully deployed, if you even go face first into the drink, they will, because all the buoyancy's on the front, okay, roll you back over and promote an open airway. They've got the neck collar, okay? That's why they're a level 100 or type 1 in the old terminology. Okay, servicing. Once a year, we had a couple of questions. Unscrew the gas cylinder and weigh it, okay? What you're looking for is the actual filled weight of the gas cylinder. So this one here is 145 grams plus or minus 2 grams. That's your tolerance, folks, okay? Quite acceptable to weigh it. You'll hear a lot of rumours about having to replace these every year. You can do that if you wish. If it's in good condition, not corroded, okay, weigh it. If it's in their tolerance, replace it. You don't need Stilsons to put these on, gents, okay, just hand tight will do. So the next check, we've actually cheated a bit on this, is inflate the jacket. Please, if you want to save yourself $30 odd, don't bang it off like what we do. Blow it up through the oral inflation tube. It needs to stay up overnight, yes. absolutely. And great question there. Is it law? So this might be a bit hard. There's a servicing table on there. There'll be variations of that between brands. You need to sign and date that. Write your date of purchase on it first of all with a laundry marker or a Nico pen, then with your annual servicings, okay? And that's where it comes into checking your manufacturer's specifications. They may, at varying time frames, say 3, maybe 5 years, just look at your instructions, go to an authorised agent, okay, for a more in-depth service. Some brands, you can self-service the life of the jacket, okay? But yes, it's, as far as law goes, it's not a complete safety gear item because it hasn't been serviced, okay, in accordance with manufacturing instructions. Does that sound good, Mick? Yes. Okay, Mick's going to have a talk about bad examples of inflatable life jackets.
Okay, generally when, if we stop you for a quick check and you present, say, yep, I've got inflatables, we'll generally open them up and have a look, A, to see if they've been serviced, B, to check the state of the canister. As you can see, this one here is beyond its use-by date. Secondly, there should be a green clip there. And what that green clip does is that stops this from rocking. So if that green clip's missing, it's a good chance you'll notice if you unscrew your bottle, you can unscrew these, they won't go off, that pin is starting to slowly pierce that bottle. And it might just fracture it enough to let the gas slowly escape. And when you need to use it, it's not going to work. So if you've got these, check them regularly before you go out. Make sure the cylinder's in good order, the green safety clip's in place, and keep them dry. If you've got a manual inflate, which is what this one is, it doesn't have the auto inflate component, which is, as Gavin said, that bit there. When you get back home, especially if you fish saltwater, hence here, flush them out, wash them down. That one there, you've got the auto inflate. If you're going to wet it, it's probably going to go off on you. So dry them out. Always keep them dry. The biggest killer of these life jackets is leaving them wet in a boat. So, and also, just check them regularly. Also, cylinder tightness. We've checked life jackets in the field. The cylinders have been loose, so there's a perfect escape for your gas. Or some of the brand new ones we've checked don't even have cylinders in them at all. So when you get them, open them up and check them regularly. Just one last thing, if they're not compliant, then they don't meet the requirements of a life jacket, hence you're not carrying life jackets. $250.
Every time you want to use your life jacket, carry out a pre-wear check. Is the life jacket damaged? Broken buckles, torn or frayed webbing or fabric? Check the CO2 cylinder is screwed in hand tight. Check the auto cartridge is also hand tight. Check that both indicators show green and ready. Make sure that the pull cord is accessible. If your life jacket shows red in any indicators, ensure the cartridge is screwed in hand tight. If the indicator remains red, insert a new cartridge and the indicators should return to their green status. If the indicators remain red or the jacket is damaged, pack it away and don't use it until it's been serviced. Do not attempt to repair a damaged life jacket yourself. After use, you can wash the life jacket, but please remove the auto cartridge first and keep it dry. Wash it in warm, soapy water, rinse and dry thoroughly. Once dry, refit the auto cartridge and store in a dry, ventilated position. Don't store auto-inflatable life jackets in the boat where heat and humidity can set off the inflation system. Remember to have it serviced every 12 months or when the manufacturer specifies. And please note the next service date in the service grid.
Hi, today I'm going to show you how to repack your Ultra Life Jacket with Velcro closure. Firstly, you need to get rid of all of the air that's inside the bladder, and you do this by rolling the bladder up tightly. invert the cap on the oil tube to open the valve. Now that we've got all the air out, we can lay the bladder flat on the table and arrange the valise behind it. So firstly, folds 1 and 2 behind the inflator. Then we wrap the valise around and lightly close one section of Velcro. You don't worry about it being too neat right now, we'll get back to that later. Now we can fold folds 3 and 4 on the other side and do the same thing. At this point we want to make sure that the lifting loop in the bottom is tucked in nice and neat, and we can start to close the Velcro more fully. So we've got both sides flat, folded, and now we can do the top. Folds 5 and 6, and again close it off at the top just to hold the folds in place. We do the corners, folding them underneath, and again capture the corners with the Velcro. Now that we've got it all inside, we can make it a little bit neater. Now we can adjust the Velcro on the back strap so the Velcro is in the middle. Then I'm lining up with the seams on the front and the back so it's nice and even. Now the collar's done, I've just got to get the sides sitting neatly. You can start by pulling the Velcro apart with one hand and putting it back together with the other. All the way to the bottom, the pull cord needs to be visible, so we'll put that outside the Velcro, and the inflator needs to be visible in the window. So we'll just pull the bladder down a little bit with the Velcro closing and finishing up next to the webbing. So that's that side done. We'll do the remaining side, same procedure. Keep it folding neat. And pull the bladder down so the service grid is visible. Completed packing. Today I'm going to show you how to repack your ultra inflatable life jacket with a zippered closure. First of all, if this is being activated, you'll need first to reset your zip. And you can do this just by zipping the thing closed against the flow of the zip. Be patient. So it helps if you get the zip in position first and fold in any bladder so it's going to fit inside rather than just trying to force it. Now we've got the zip all the way back to where the pull cord comes out. It won't go any further. That's where it'll be while we're repacking it. So again, just slide it backwards and then it's ready to go. Now we can take the bladder out, knowing that the valise is ready to close once we have the bladder ready. So we can start folding the bladder. First thing we do is fold folds 1 and 2 down and under the inflator. And we can just neatly push that down in behind the zip so the indicators are visible in the window. And we can close the zip a little bit as we go. And now we can just make sure everything is in its right place. And we'll start folding folds 3 and 4, which will let us fold the top down. And then we can fold folds 5 and 6 over. We need to hold that while we get the corner set, folding that in, hold it in place and nip that zipper. So that's all pretty neat. And we'll just close the last side now. So we can tidy up this side now, fold back to folds 3 and 4, fold them in nice and neat, put them in position, and wrap the cover around and close the zip. At this stage you can make sure you get the service grid in the right place. So now the service grid is visible. The inflator is visible. So you can manipulate it all around so it's a nice shape. All ready to go. Today I'm going to show you how to repack your ultra inflatable waist belt. And we first start with the bladder laying flat. We fold from the top down. We fold the inflator side around, keeping the inflator on the outside. We fold the oral tube side down one more fold. And then we also roll that one up towards the centre. And what we end up with is a neat little package like this. We have to make sure the lever is facing down, the strap is not twisted. We place it inside and we'll just hold it in place with the Velcro in the middle. Once it's closed in the middle, we can neaten it up. And okay, we're done. The indicator is visible, the pull cord is visible. It says active, we're ready to go.